Good morning, everyone. In the exception handling, we discuss the topics. Whatever the topics we discuss, I will give the summary and then today
సార్
we'll
వాయిస్
start the
అన్మ్యూట్
session.
చేయ
Okay.
మ్యూట్లో ఉన్నట్టు.
So, in the exception handling, we done the
Sir,
discussion
your
with
voice is
what is
not
exception.
audible.
Guys, I'm audible. Online, guys. Hello. So, the first one is what is exception. Okay. And then we're done with types of exceptions. Types of exceptions. And we're done with third one is exception hierarchy. Exception hierarchy.
సార్ వాయిస్ వినబడట్లేదు.
Okay, fine. Okay, I am giving the summary of what we discussed in the exception handling topic in previous sessions. What is exception, types of exception, and exception hierarchy, and then where we done the discussion with checked exceptions and unchecked exceptions, checked exception and unchecked exceptions. Okay, next we can handle the exceptions. We can handle the exceptions by using the keywords. By using keywords are like below. The first one is the try keyword. So try keyword meaning it is used to keep risky code inside the try block. Risky code inside the try block. Okay, inside the try block. And then next where we have the next we have the catch block. So already you guys aware how the process which happens internally. Okay, so which is used to generally it is used to catch the exception. Catch the exception. So whatever exception is thrown by the try block, that exception it should catch by the catch block. Okay, next we have the finally keyword. Finally keyword generally it is used to execute all the statements at all the time. Execute all the statements available in the final block, it will execute all the times. Okay, next we have the keyword is that is the throws keyword. Throws keyword. So generally throws keyword which is used to, I would say it is used to hand over the checked exceptions. Hand over the checked exceptions. Hand over the checked exceptions to the caller method or JVM. To the caller method or JVM. Caller method or JVM. Next we have the throw keyword. So generally throw is the keyword. Throw is the keyword which it is used to create the exception wantedly. Create the exception wantedly or programmatically. Wantedly or programmatically. Okay, and so in the last session I hope we covered these three keywords: try keyword, catch keyword, finally keyword. Okay, so today let us will try to understand so how to handle the exceptions by using the throws keyword and how to handle the exceptions by using the throw keyword. Throw keyword. Okay, so after this we have the topic user exceptions are, I can mention with user exception or custom exception. User exception or you can say custom exception. Custom exception. So this is the in the exception handling agenda. Exception handling agenda. Okay, so today we'll see the difference between the checked and checked exception and unchecked exception, and also we'll see the difference between throws and throws keyword. When will you go for the throws keyword? When will you go for the throw keyword? We'll try to discuss with it. Okay, so simply I will open MS Paint. Now the thing is, I will take some checked exception and unchecked exceptions. right? So I will take it as first one is checked exception, and second one is unchecked exceptions. Unchecked exceptions. The first difference between, so in the interview perspective, they will ask multiple questions in this area. Okay, the first difference between the checked exception and unchecked exception, the first difference is compiler known exceptions. Compiler known exceptions is called checked exceptions. Compiler known exceptions. Compiler known exceptions is called checked exceptions. Compiler unknown exceptions is called unchecked exceptions. Compiler unknown. Compiler unknown, meaning compiler also don't know some exceptions. Compiler unknown exceptions is called unchecked exceptions. Okay. Next difference is, this is the one difference, and next difference is, so checked exceptions we can handle immediately. Okay, so checked exceptions we can handle immediately. We can handle immediately. We can handle immediately. So here, in case of unchecked exceptions, we can handle, but not immediately. Okay, we can handle, we can handle, but not immediately. But not immediately. But not immediately. Okay, and then this is the one more difference between checked and unchecked exceptions. Next one is, next difference between them is, so checked exception parent class is the exception. Checked exception parent class is the exception. Okay, and unchecked exception parent class is the runtime exception. Runtime exception. This is the difference you have to remember. You have to keep in mind. Okay, what is the difference between the checked exception and unchecked exceptions? Checked exception meaning compiler known exceptions is called checked exception, and compiler unknown exceptions meaning some syntax, so compiler also don't know. So if the compiler don't know, the compiler don't recognize. It will don't throw the any error. It will don't throw the any error. So this one we have to keep in mind. Checked exceptions in the interview perspective, they will ask the difference between, what is the difference between the checked exception and unchecked exceptions. These are the difference. Checked exception is also known as compile known exceptions. Unchecked exceptions is also known as compiler unknown exceptions, and we can handle immediately checked exception, and we can handle but not immediately unchecked exceptions, and checked exception parent class is the exception, and unchecked exception parent class is the runtime exception. Runtime exceptions. Are you guys clear with my point? And what are the examples for the checked exceptions? What are the examples for the checked exceptions? So in the last session we seen some few of the examples also, like file leader. File leader, this is also called as file not found exception. File not found exception. File not found exception. Next, IO exception. IO exception. These all comes under the example for the checked exceptions. Meaning at the time of compile time only it is throwing the error. Okay, at the compile time only it will throw the error. Okay, in case of unchecked exceptions, what are the examples for unchecked exceptions generally? So examples for unchecked exceptions, where we have the exception, arithmetic exception, arithmetic exception. Next, we have the null pointer exception, null pointer exception. Next, array index out of the bounds exception. Next, array index out of the bounds exception. So this is also called, this is also can write like this, short form, double O E, meaning array index out of bounds exception, out of bounds exception. Okay, this is the short form for the array index out of the bounds exception. Okay, so these are the examples for the unchecked exceptions, and these are the examples for the checked exceptions. Okay, so in the last session, I hope we covered this all the examples. We covered this one, and we covered this one, and we covered this one. I guess this is the pending, I guess. Array index out of the bounds exception. So I will show you one more time, and then after that, we will go enter into the throws and throw keyboard. Okay. I will open notepad, my notepad I will open. So through that, now we can get the clarity on it. So this is the major difference. We have to keep in mind the difference. I will open my notepad. I will show you the programs. Okay, I will take demo test is an example. Okay. Now I would like to take the main method. I would like to take the main method, and now I would like to take the sysout statement. So here I would like to take some start message, and then here I would like to take, so same statement I will take 3 times. So the program is running, and here I will mention the program ender. Okay, I'm saving this file, and then if I run this one, now I can get all 3 statements. That is called graceful termination, right? This is graceful termination. Now sometimes here if I mention some number by 0, then this is automatic exceptions. Compiler also don't know. So that's why the compiler is also not throwing the any issue. Due to this line, remaining lines is not executing. Remaining lines is not executing. Now if I run this file, so if you observe this line, only first statement got execute, remaining statement not got execute. Okay, so this is the risky code. Due to this line, because of this line only, remaining statements is not executed. So that is not our requirement. As a programmer, we are the responsible to execute all the programs. Okay. Okay, as a programmer, we are the responsible to execute all the programs. Okay, this is the arithmetic exceptions. So wherever the exception is coming, exception is meaning an unwanted or unexpected situation comes under the program execution. Okay, so this is the risky code. You can take the risky code and you can mention inside the try and catch block. So you can take, so already you aware how the process which happens internally. Catch block, and here you can take catch block. Here you can directly use the specific name, or you can directly use the exception name also. You can directly, you can use the exception name. And here you can pass some dummy message. You can pass some dummy message. So for example, here I would like to mask. So we cannot divide it by 0 like that. Okay, we cannot divide it by 0. I can save this file. If I run this one, then you can get the result. You can get the result. Okay, so similarly, it is respect to, this is the arithmetic exception. Okay, so now we'll try to understand the null pointer exception. So generally, so we cannot perform any operations on the null values. For example, I am taking the string is string some name equal to some null value. Null meaning nothing. Okay, this is the container, and inside the container I am keeping null. Null meaning there is nothing. Nothing inside the container. I am declaring here there is nothing. Now I want to do some operations on that empty container. Then what it immediately it not thrown any error because compiler also don't know. Compiler also don't know. So this is the risky code. So what I will do, wherever the risky code, wherever the exception is coming, that risky code I can keep inside the try block. So you can take the try block, and inside the try block you can mention the risky code, and already you know how the process happens internally. You know, I don't know how the process happens internally. And here I will take the catch block, and from here to here this is the scope of the catch block. So here now what I will do, I will take the exception and and here I will mention some dummy messages. The dummy message is sort statement, and we cannot perform any operations on null values. Okay, so this is the dummy message we should take. Exception. Okay, this is the string, right? You should pass the string within double quotation. You can save this file and then you can run the file. So this is null pointer exception. Okay, and we have the array index out of the bounds index. So then I will show you that one. This is clear. Next one is, so already you are aware of the arrays, right? For example, here I would like to take some int array equal to, I would like to store some values, which is basically some 100, okay, and some 100, 101, okay, and then I can mention with some 102. Okay, so I have initialized the array. Now what I will do, so here this is the index position 0, index position 1, and index position 2. Now what I will do, I would like to print the element at the index position 100. At the index position 100. Now if I run this program, now we can observe what we will get. If you observe here, you are coming array index out of the bounds exception. Why? Because actually the length is 3 only, but you are trying to access the 100th element. Is there any element at the position of 100? There is no element, but you are trying to access the 100th position element. So that's why it is throwing the error, that is the array index out of the bounds exception. So now how will you control this one? So wherever the risky code, wherever the exception is coming, that you can take inside the try block, and you can pass inside, and then you can take the catch block, and from here to here you can mention here the parent as the exception e, and then here you can pass the message is sysout statement, and here we cannot access 100th position index, 100th position index. Okay, you can save the file and you can run the file. Okay, these three are comes under the category of unchecked exceptions. What are the three? These three basically: arithmetic exception, null pointer exception, array index out of the bounds exception. So compiler also don't know these three exceptions, and so that's why the compiler also don't throw the errors at the time of writing the program. And next one we have the checked exception. So I will see one example on the checked exception. For example, file reader is the one example we'll take. File reader. So I will create object for the file reader, new object, and then we need to import the file reader. File reader is the predefined class available in java.io package. Okay, I am importing that one. Now what I will do, I will store in this one in some reference variable name, and this reference variable name is I can mention with the class name is file reader. I can mention the class name is file reader. Here I will pass some file name abc.txt. This file is not available in my local also, but still I am trying to give that file name actually. The file name is abc.txt. This file is also not available in my local actually. So that's why what it is throwing the error, that is file not found exception. That is file not found exception. So how could we resolve this one? So wherever exception is coming, you can keep this one inside the try block. So now you can take the try block. You can take the try block, and then inside this one you can mention uh, this one, and here you can pass exception e equal to. Here you could mention some dummy message, that is file not found. Okay, file is not available in our system. File is not available in our system. Okay, you can save this file and then you can run this file, then you can get the result. Okay, so these are the examples we seen in the last session, right? These are the examples we seen in the last session. Okay, today we'll discuss about the throws and throw keyword. So when will you go for the throw keyword and when will you go for the throws keyword? So let us try to understand throws and throws keyword. Okay, so first we'll go with the throws keyword. So I can explain in two scenarios, scenario number one and scenario number two. Okay, so first we'll go with the scenario number one. So already your definition already the definition of further throws keyword is, so throws is the keyword which is used to hand over the checked exceptions to the caller method or JVM. That is the definition for throws keyword. Now what I will do, okay, so generally already you aware of syntax, right? The syntax is public class name is the demo, and class name is the demo. Here I will take some method, that is static void. I would like to take some m1 method. Okay, and from here to here, this is the scope of some logic here. Okay, and okay, this is the scope of the method, and now I need to access this method. How could I access? I will take the main method. The main method is psvm is the shortcut, public static void main. Okay, and string args, and this is the static method, right? So how will you access the static method? You can access by using the class name. If it is available in the same file, then you can directly access with the method name. You can directly access with method name. M1 dot, we can call the method name. Are you guys clear with my point? Here I will write some logic. The logic should be like this, meaning like SOP. Some dummy message I will pass here. M1 method calling. Okay, M1 method calling. Some dummy message I will pass inside here. Okay, this is the logic. In the scenario, this is the scenario number one. In the scenario number one, what will happen? So every program execution will start from the main method. Okay, so first the controller will come to the first here, and it will look for the M1 method. So M1 is the static method. If it is the static method, if it is available in the same file, you can directly call the directly method name. No need to mention the class name. Okay, it is in different file, then you can call with the class name. Now in our case, this is available in the same file, right? This is available in same file. Then what will happen? Controller will come to main method, and we are calling the M1 method. So the controller will go to the M1 method, and then it will go to inside the M1 method, and it will execute this statement. It will execute this statement. So finally you will get the result on the console. This message will display on the console. This message will display on the console. This is the scenario number one. This is the scenario number one. Okay. Now we'll try to understand scenario number two. Scenario number one, you got the clarity. Okay. Now we'll try to understand scenario number two. In the scenario number two, what will happen? In the scenario number two, here we will take some exceptions. For example, SOP, and here we will take some 10 divided by 0. Okay, this is the exception, right? This is the exception. So if the exception will occur in the program, so then it will cause abnormal termination of the program in the middle. So the control got terminated in the middle only. Are you guys clear with my point? We are trying to understand two cases. So first we will try to understand. I will go here. So here what I will do, I will take one method. So the method name is static void m1 method. So here I will mention the message is sysout statement. Some dummy message I am passing. Okay, m1. Okay, m1 method calling. Now the static method is in the same file, then you can directly call with the method name. For example, if I mention m1 dot like this, then directly I can get the result. For example, if I run this one, then you go, you can see the result on the console. You can see result on the console, right? You can observe m1 method calling, right? You can directly call with the class name also. So the two scenarios is possible. Are you guys observing what I'm saying? Demo, test. We can call like this also. This is the one approach, and if it is available in the same file, then you can directly call by using the method name. Okay. Okay, this is the scenario number one. Okay, in the scenario number two, what I am saying. So in if any exception occurred in the method, so we cannot handle this one immediately. This exception we are handovering to the caller method. This is the caller method, right? This is the caller method. This exception we cannot handle in the method itself. This exception we are throwing. We are throwing, meaning this exception we are handover to the caller method. Meaning this exception we are giving to the caller method. Caller method or JVM. That is the point I am saying. This is the exception. This exception we cannot handle immediately. So we are telling to the compiler, hey compiler, that exception I know, you just shut up and you should do compile that exception I will give to the caller method. So like that I am telling to the compiler. So now how can I tell to the compiler? So simply here I can mention throws exception. Whatever the exception is coming in the method level, that exception I am throwing to the caller method. That exception I am throwing to the caller method. Are you guys observing? So I am explaining two scenarios. So scenario number one, without any exception. If any exception comes in the method level, so how will you handle? We are telling to the compiler, a compiler, I know this exception. So you just shut up and you can do compilation. That exception I will give. I will give to the caller method. Giving meaning we are handovering the exception to the caller method. We are handovering. We are not handling immediately. That exception we are hand over to the caller method. That is the thing we have to remember. For example, now I will show you the practically. Now instead of this m1 method calling, what I will do, I can take some 10 divided by 0. Then this is the arithmetic exception, right? If I run this one, then what should I get? Abuser I can get arithmetic exception, right? So how can I handle this one? How can I handle this one? So I cannot immediately I cannot handle I will use the throws keyword and I can mention the exception. I can mention exception. Okay. Are you guys clear with my point? So I am handovering that exception. Handovering means I am giving that exception to the caller method. So this exception I am giving, I am not handling immediately. This exception I am giving to the caller method. This is the caller method, right? So how can in the caller method itself you can handle? Meaning this one you can keep inside the try block. So you can write manually, or else you can it will provide the shortcuts also. M1 method, and so here you can mention already you guys already know the process, internal process you know. Okay, here I can mention exception, some E, and here I will mention some dummy message, sysout statement. Here I will mention we cannot any number we cannot divide it by 0. Any number we cannot divide it by 0. Are you guys clear with my point? So only you have to understand simple difference. Simple difference. So in the method level, we cannot handle that exception we are throwing. This exception we are giving to the caller method. Caller method. Okay. So I am simply I can run this one, then I can get the result on the console. Are you guys clear with this area? This is clear what I am doing. Two scenarios. First scenario without exception. Second scenario with exception. So the throws keyword we will use in the scenario number 2. Scenario number 2. In if any exception comes in the method level, we cannot handle immediately. We will throw that exception. We are giving that exception, that process we will give to the caller method. So in the caller method, we will mention inside the try and catch block, and then we can handle. And then we can handle. Are you guys clear with my point? In the same way, in the null pointer exception and where you have the arithmetic exception, they are also same. If you are trying to using the any null, I can say null pointer exception in the inside the method level, then you can throw the exception at the calling the time. We can mention the some display message. We can mention some dummy message. We can mention some dummy message. This is clear, guys. Throws keyword how we will use in the throws keyword. You guys clear? Clear or not? Clear or not? Clear. Next one is we have the throw keyword. So throw keyword which is used to so the definition is itself there the purpose of each keyword, the meaning itself there we have. Okay. Uh, I can mention throw is the keyword which is used to create the exception programmatically. That is the definition, right? So here I will show you how will you create the exception programmatically. For example, for example, we'll try to take one program. We'll try to take some program. The method we should take M1 method, and input will pass like as the int id. Int id. Okay. This is the inside the M1 method, and here what we will take? We'll take the if condition. If id equal to some 101, you should return as this is the scope of the if block. You should return as this is the employee ID. You can assume like that, and you should return as this. You can take as the data type as the string. Then you should return as return Raju. Should return Raju. Okay. Similarly, next statement is else if. Else if Here I can take the condition ID equal to 1 or 2. If I give the input as the 1 or 2, then it should display return some Rani. I can get Rani. So instead of these two numbers, if I give any other number, then what should I display? So in that case, I will take the throw keyword. In that case, I will take the throw keyword. So if you give the these two numbers, then you can get the result. That is good. So instead of these two numbers, if you give any other number, then I need to create one exception by using the throws keyword. Else, so inside the else block, I will take the throws and new exception like this exception, and here you can pass invalid ID. Some dummy message will pass here invalid ID like this. So this exception we are creating programmatically, right? So you, in the real-time scenarios also we will use like that. I will show you programmatically. Okay, now I will take the another method, and this one entire thing I'm removing. Now the method name is, I would like to take the method return type is the string, and method name is the m1, and here I am passing the parameter is int id. Okay, so here inside this method, so what I am passing, I will checking the condition by using the conditional statements. If the parameter id equal to 101, then I need to return Raju. I need to return Raju. I need to return Raju. Okay. Okay. Next, similarly, we will take the else if, and then id equal to some 102. Now here I will return some Rani. I will return some Rani. Okay, and similarly here what I will do. So if I pass these two, then I can get the Raju and Rani. So apart from those two numbers, if I pass any other number, then I need to display return. So I need to display here. I will take. I will create some throw keyword, and here I will create some exception. Throw exception, and here I will pass some dummy message. The dummy message is invalid ID. Okay, invalid ID. Okay, so it is throwing the error. Why it is throwing the error mean we have created the exception. So here in the method level, we will compulsory we will use the throws keyword also. Throws exception. Throws exception. Okay, so this exception we have coming in the method level. So we are handovering this exception to the caller method. Now this is which method is this one? This is the instance method, right? Now I can declare with this one as the static. Okay, now we can directly call m1 method. Okay, we can hand over we can pass the arguments. For example, if I pass some 100 101, if I pass the 101, then we need to surround with the try and catch keyword. Okay, now if I save this one, if I pass 101, then you can observe what we will get. So generally we'll get Raju, and this one we should mention in the SO SSOut statement. For example, instead of 101 and instead of 102, if I pass the 105, this is a invalid, right? If I 105, if I run this program, application. Now if you see what the data is coming, invalid ID. Okay, so if I change any other thing here, you are giving wrong ID. I am saving this one. If I run this file, so that will display here. You are giving wrong ID. You are giving wrong ID. So basically, so sometimes based on the requirement, we will create our custom exception also. So at the time of creating the custom exception, you should manually should use the throws keyword also. Should use the throws keyword also. So the both combination only can pass throw keyword. Are you guys clear with my point? We are creating the exception manually, and that exception by using the throws keyword, we are handovering that exception to the caller method. We are handovering that exception to the caller method. We are handovering that exception to the caller method. Okay. So this is with respect to throws keyword. Throws keyword. Are you guys clear with my point? So sometimes based on the requirement, we will create our own exception. Okay. So can you please this what are the topics you covered? What is exception, types of exception, exception hierarchy, checked exception and unchecked exception. We can handle exception by using the keywords try, catch, finally, throws and throws keyword. So the definition itself, the function of uh, try we have, okay. So it is used to keep the risky code inside the try block. So the purpose of the try keyword also same. And next catch keyword which is used to catch the exception. Next finally keyword which it is used to execute all the statements all the times. Next throws keyword it is used to hand over the checked exceptions to the caller method or JVM. Okay, it is not handling immediately, it is a handovering. Handovering meaning it is giving to other person. It is giving the exceptions to the other person. That person is called caller method or JVM. Throw keyword which is used to create the exceptions wantedly or programmatically. Create the exceptions wantedly or programmatically. So this is the example for throw keyword. Throw keyword. At the time of writing the throw keyword, so you should use throws also. Should use throws also. So this is the example for throws keyword. Throw and throws keyword. This is the example for throws and throws keyword. So with this, we completed the all the things. Okay, we have the one more pending topic, that is the user exception and custom exceptions. So once we will complete this one, then we'll go with collections topic. Okay. So that is today. Any questions, anyone in this area? And this is the difference. So in the interview perspective, if you are 3 years, if you are 4 years, any experience you have, so in the interview perspective, they compulsory they will ask the questions in this area. What is the difference between the checked exception and unchecked exceptions? And so these are the major differences between checked and unchecked exceptions. In the interview perspective, these are the common questions. These are the common questions. Okay, these are the common questions. So you should note down and you should keep in mind. Checked exception, unchecked exception, compiler known exceptions is called checked exceptions, compiler unknown exceptions is called compiler unknown exceptions. We can handle immediately. We cannot handle we can handle but not immediately. Next the parent class here is exception. Here the parent class is the runtime exception. So we can remember like this. So in these two areas might be confused. Like after 1 week, after 10 days, you might be confused, right? So you can remember like this. Or Anna, like that you can remember. Meaning the parent for the unchecked exception is the runtime exception. Okay, you can remember like that. Checked exception parent class is the this one. Okay, unchecked exception run. You can remember like this. Okay. So that is the way cannot you can remember long time. Okay. So today what you guys will do, you can practice the programs on throw keyword, and you can practice the program on throws and throw keyword. Okay, these two you can practice, and tomorrow we will discuss this one, user exception or custom exception, and then we'll go with collection topic. We'll go with collection topic. Collection topic also very easy. Okay. Alan guys, can you please share your names? I will stop the live.